David Begnaud is at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood Airport. David, investigators say that Esteban Santiago has no known terror links, but they're not ruling out terrorism. What did they have to say about this, about whether the shooter was acting alone?
Well, I mean, they say that at this point, it appears he was acting alone. There was no disturbance either in Anchorage or in Minneapolis where he connected or on the flight here to Fort Lauderdale. So they think this was all him, by himself. They're the ones who brought up terrorism at the news conference. I mean, the FBI guy who stepped to the podium and was the first to speak said, and I want to remind you, we have not ruled out terrorism. And I followed up on that in saying, hey, so, why are you continuing to bring forward the terrorism link? Is there something that we should know that you know? And he said, look, it's too early in the investigation for me to indicate, but I want to make it clear that we have not ruled out terrorism. A lot of people who may have heard about the mental apparent instability of the gunman might think, well, this is a crazy guy who went off and killed some people. But the FBI is saying, don't write it off like that just yet. We also are looking at threads of potential terroristic links. Nothing has been confirmed. It may turn out to be nothing. But again, this is not the media bringing up the issue. This is the FBI guy who stood at the podium today and said, we have not ruled out a possible link to terrorism.
David, you spoke to an eyewitness who described the chaos. I want to play that soundbite.
He got knocked out of his wheelchair. People were trampling him. I couldn't get anybody to help me to drag him, and then we finally got into the jetway, and we were the only people left in the jetway. Everybody had made it to a plane. They got on the plane, they closed the door of the plane, and it was surreal. It was like being in some sort of crazy movie. I banging on the door, begging them to let us onto the plane.
Witnesses describe being trapped in the terminal. Tell us about that.
Well, look, let me tell you what we heard from one man, Mark Aaliyah, who was flying into Fort Lauderdale to get on a cruise ship with his wife. He describes being there and seeing the man start shooting. And he explained to me that the shootings happened between carousel 2 and 3 in the baggage claim area. And each carousel is lined up like this. And the people who were shot were right in the middle of carousel 2 and 3. So basically, he said they were trapped. The only thing you could do is hop a carousel or crawl through the back of the baggage claim, which one victim who we interviewed said he tried to do, but he said, I realized that anybody who stood up got shot in the head. So the people who ended up being shot were trapped between baggage claim 2 and 3 and had nowhere to run, really, except right toward the gunman.
Unbelievable. You know, there are a lot of questions about Santiago's mental state because he walked into an FBI office in November and told them that he believed that his mind was being controlled by the government, that he was being forced to watch ISIS videos. Explain this impact and how it impacts the investigation.
Well, look, let me tell you this. The Associated Press is saying that they spoke with Santiago's brother. This is a report that I just read, and the AP says that the brother said to the reporter from the Associated Press, how is it that the government hospitalized him for 3 to 4 days, then released him and gave him his weapon back? Now, again, that was a remark made by the brother of this alleged mass shooter to the Associated Press. But the mental instability of the gunman is crucial here, right? What happened in Anchorage? We know he walked into the field office. We have not been able to get a copy of the police report. But whatever happened there, the FBI didn't investigate, if you will, on their own. They simply called the local authorities, the Anchorage Police Department, handed Santiago over to the local police, and that's when he was transported to a local hospital for a mental evaluation.
David, what can you tell us about the moment that the gunman was actually taken into custody?
Well, so that's interesting. I asked the Sheriff Scott Israel today, Sheriff, how long did it take that first deputy who encountered the gunman to get to him? And he said between 70 and 80 seconds. So, Rena, in less than a minute and a half, a mass shooting was committed here. Just the 7th day of the new year.
That's very telling. David Begnaud at Fort Lauderdale Airport. Thank you for joining us, David.
You bet.